Hi everyone, I'm Jen, and I own a veterinary technician relief business.
And I'm Michelle. I own a mobile veterinary technician business.
And you are listening to Endless Journeys, the Vet Tech Odyssey podcast. In this podcast, we will be discussing and meeting with credentialed technicians who have created their own path with business ownership within the veterinary space.
Our goal is to help inspire burnt-out vet techs before they leave the industry altogether through our stories and the stories of other veterinary technician business owners. So, Jacklyn, what challenges have you faced managing these businesses and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, so with the mobile veterinary nursing, I'm completely hands off. I don't do anything with that other than the bookkeeping, and I pay, the contractor that I have for that particular business every week. So she does the management of her own clients and the messaging and the appointment scheduling. So that's, she manages herself. Now on the Action Vet Tech side, what are the challenges like day to day, or how in depth
I would
do you
say
want to
just
be
like
challenging?
how do you, because just owning one business in and of itself is a lot. How the heck do you do it with both of these businesses plus the training workshops? I mean, I feel like that would be a lot for me. And even just imagining, because I think about my business and then I think about Michelle's business. And then, because I know that you don't do too much on the mobile side, but
Yeah.
I mean, just like with all of it, do you feel overwhelmed sometimes? Do you feel like it's too much? Like, do you think that you have like a pretty good system to be able to manage all of this at one time?
Yeah. You also have to remember that I'm not working on the floor a lot or
Yeah.
hardly at all. So like with this being my only job in the sense of running the business, staying on top of communications and employees and organizing training, I also have help. So Dave Cowan, who you might know, he's a technician, but he's also on my administrative side that I pay him to help me with those kind of duties, right?
Okay.
Where he helps with the interviewing process. So new applicants that come in, if there's inquiries on our website or there's inquiries on our social media pages, he handles those. He also does my timesheets. So he goes through, when we do payroll every other week, he does the auditing of timesheets and then sends me the reports so that I enter them into payroll. So a lot of the responsibilities aren't the same every single day. There's different demands, like I said, with payroll and bookkeeping is not necessarily every single day. Hiring employees is not every single day. We're not onboarding new hospitals every single day. Everything kind of comes in waves. And I've also learned like seasonally or year to year where we have different demands and if there is some kind of, consistency in those things. So I think I manage myself very well. I am an early riser. I think one of the bigger challenges is understanding that the limiting factor to either of these businesses is myself. So being the owner of this business, there is sometimes overwhelming pressure of growth, of, where is this going? Where can it go? What can I do to make it better, to make it bigger? Whatever. And that's something you have to, I think, be peaceful with yourself on being enough, which is kind of where I'm peaceful with. Like, yes, I seek out growth, but also I'm not trying to take it national overnight.
Right.
And what we're doing is a very controlled and high quality service. And I value that a lot, like quality especially.
That which actually leads us into our next question. Me personally, when I was looking through you, trying to get to know your business before this podcast, I had saw the quality and the caliber of technicians on your team. I mean, some of them have their VTSs, they're all credentialed. So how do you ensure that quality and consistency in the services provided by your teams?
Standards. I have high standards. I only hire people smarter than me. I hire talent.
Wow.
I love it. Okay.
Like I really seek out technicians that are passionate. They want to grow. I hire leaders ultimately because that's what I need is like somebody that's going to be able to be a self-starter in these hospitals and be a good communicator and be professional and be mature.
Hmm.
So those are kind of characteristics that I look for when I hire them. And then of course, specialty technicians, VTS, I am opening up an opportunity for them to do what they love to do, which is training. They want to teach people, they want to share their specialty, and they want to elevate the care in our veterinary hospitals. And
Yeah.
often that's what's lacking is training, right? So that's that other layer of Action Vet Tech services that maybe some people don't know about. We're not just a staffing company. We have specialty technicians that can actually train your staff. We can come in and customize the training that you need based on what your team is. We don't have a cookie cutter system. It's custom.
Oh, I like that. I like that
Yeah.
that you do that. Just
Mhm.
depending on each specific clinic, because each specific clinic has way different things that they need to
Yeah.
focus on.
Medicine in general, like they might carry different drugs. They have a different workflow. So, yes, definitely we'll do that.
Yes, I love that. And what does an average week look like for you in terms of scheduling, hobbies? Do you have any fun hobbies, spending time with family? Like, what does your average week look like with your work and outside of work?
So generally I'm in the office like 7 in the morning and I knock out a lot of things very quickly in the morning. I go to the gym around lunchtime. So usually between 11 and 1, I'll go to the gym. I have 2 dogs that I walk. We hike. I like to be on the lake. I ride a bike. I am very active. I love yoga. Yes, I have family. They are not here in North Carolina. They're in Indiana mostly. So I only go a
Oh,
couple times a year to visit them. But, I have friends around here. We'll go like coffee or we'll go to the lake. I have a fast car. I went to a driving school a few weeks ago that was super fun. And I got to drive a bunch of BMWs around racetracks.
Oh my
So
gosh.
oh,
that,
nice.
yeah, that was like the highlight of my month. That was the best money I've spent all year. So I'll probably do that more.
Oh my gosh. That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish somebody would trust me with the BMW with my driving. That's
You
nice.
can, you can pay for it. You can pay for it.
They pay you.
Yes.
They haven't seen my driving record yet.
So obviously, I had talked to you and I had personally reached out to you and wanted to ask you questions on starting my own business. What advice can you give to technicians who are listening right now, who are considering starting their own business, as far as like addressing their fears and people who are saying like, I want to do this, but how do I know that I'm capable of starting my own business? How do I know that I have the work ethic? How do I know that I have the characteristics to be able to start my own business and do this? Because there's a lot of people who want to start their own business, but they don't understand the challenges, and maybe they want to start their own business because they don't want to work as much and because they don't want to answer to somebody else. But there's more to it than that, right?
hmm hmm What
So
does
what would you
Carl
say?
Jung say? Carl Jung says, where your fear is, there your task is. So fear is an option, right? We choose to fear. So in that sense of, weigh out the risks, like write them down. Like what are the risks? And then ask yourself, okay, what happens if things don't work out the way you wanted it to?
Hmm.
Would you rather not try it and then regret later, like I wish I would have tried that? Or would you rather try it? And I don't really call them mistakes, I call them lessons,
Right.
right? So when something doesn't go as you anticipated or as you planned or as you wanted it to, that's not a mistake and that's not a failure. That's a lesson to pivot and try again or try something different, try a different strategy. I don't think business is for everyone.
Hmm.
There is definitely a learning curve of things that I had to seek out resources, right? Like I didn't go to business school, but I found a business counselor through a free service that our tax dollars pays for, right? And it was a matter of getting connected with the right person to ask the right questions of like what I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. And so when things come up, you have a resource. Like we have the
Right.
internet, for goodness sakes.
Mm-hmm.
We have YouTube. YouTube is college, people. So
Right.
you can you can learn a lot about
Yes.
accounting and business and startup and like how to create an LLC, but it does require you to have the right mindset on forward direction, right? And not like having a fear around it. So if you're coming in it with an anxious and fearful and failure mindset, that's what you will get. So have your mind right on like, I'm doing this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to devote my energy to making it what I want it to become. I'll say the most rewarding part of this is being able to work authentically. Like I get to be myself. Like I have 34 employees right now and I get to be myself in this business. There's nobody above me saying like, you can't do that.
Right.
And to me, that's the best part of any other leadership position I've ever been in. There's always been somebody above me when I'm saying like, I want to try this with my team. No, you can't do
Yeah.
that. I'm like, yes, I can.
Right. Yeah. Gosh,
And it's
that's
working for
awesome.
me, right? Like
Yeah.
I get to work authentically, and I have this wonderful team of technicians that have been with me for 3, 4, some of them the whole 5, 6 years that we've been in business. So I think there's a trust and a respect there. And I work honestly. You know, I'm always transparent with my employees about how we're doing. Annually, we have a meeting and I speak of our finances because we're doing the work together. Anybody that refers to me as boss, I'm always like, you know, I don't like the B word because because I see it as we're collaborating. We're collaborating. Like I need your feedback. I need to hear from you. I need to know what you need. I've also done the work. I've been in the clinics. I still go in the clinics. I see it as we're doing this together. I just happen to be the person that makes decisions.
Right. Right. And just to, and to be able to be that person who is on the floor and to be able to experience those things, I think makes such a huge difference because like you said, you can go back and you can be like, okay, these were my challenges when I first started working in a random clinic. Now I can prepare you. And it almost just makes them, they're going to do 1,000 times better in a way because they're going to know what to expect and to be a little bit more prepared because we kind of just like threw ourselves into it and we were like, let's figure this out because people don't do it. It's just not something that people do. And then, of course, to convince clinics that they should hire you on as relief. And they're like, why? Why should I waste my time hiring on a relief tech when it usually takes 6 months to actually train a technician appropriately on the floor and to teach them our protocols and to be able to say, well, that's the difference, right? Because it's not going to take me or you 6 months to learn the protocol. It's going to take us maybe a couple of hours and then we got it. And then if we have any issues, we'll ask somebody. And that's kind of what's worked for me.
Yeah. Like having the foundation, you already have the foundation of skill and experience and years of it. And I think that is the piece of like integrating as a relief tech that it was kind of a struggle or a challenge in a way of like, don't you need training? That was the question that I would get from a lot of other technicians or assistants that I would work with. They would ask, well, how do you just go into these random clinics and without training? It's like, well, I know patient care and I know what the doctor needs. And I know how to communicate. And so those are kind of the foundational pieces of it. And you got to learn their specific protocols, which is just working in their clinic and asking questions about everything you'd want to do.
Right. And I feel like what I always talk to doctors and I say, I'm an over communicator, right? Because I don't know you. I've never worked with you before. So I want to make sure that we're going to be on the same page with everything and that there's no miscommunication. And then I think we also need to have a little bit of a tough interior, right? I have a lot of doctors that will come up to me and they'll be like, I'm sorry, I don't want you to think. And I stop them and I go, hey, you tell me what you want. I will not get offended. I don't get offended. If you snap, I'm not going to get offended. Because I'm here to help and I'm here to work with you. And I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and everything's going to get done correctly and the way that you want it to be done. But I also can hold my boundaries. And if I don't feel comfortable doing something, I'm going to say that too. So you have to be that over communicator. You cannot feel like you're going to hurt other people's feelings. And you also, in all honesty, can't get your feelings hurt very easily either, I feel like.
I do too. Yeah. You can't have expectations of automatic trust, which is something that I do tell my technicians. Like, don't expect just because you have RVT next to your name that people will trust you. And they're like, they don't know you, regardless of if you're a nice person or you have RVT next to your name. Be humble in your presence and consistently ask for help and get to know them. Like, be personable,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, have conversation. And I think a lot of times for me, when I would go on with my first couple jobs, people wouldn't ask me for help. I would notice somebody needed help and I just run right over. And I would either start helping in some way, shape, or form, or I would say, hey, what do you need? What can I do for you right this moment?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, yeah, can you do this? And then once they saw that, then it got to the point where, oh, man, they're asking me. They're like, hey, Jen, can you come do this? Hey, Jen, can you come do this? And then and so you integrate that. You can't stand in the corner and
you've got to
wait.
insert yourself. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely something you have to. I mean, even when I tell my technicians, like, if they're not taking your help and they're not taking your offers and, there's not a lot going on, like, go clean cages, go sweep the floor, like go walk a dog, or, like, there's so many other areas of the hospital. Like, every hospital has a cleaning checklist, and that's usually that was my go-to. If there was nothing to do, I would clean. And that, like the doctors especially were like, oh my God, thank you for being here. You're amazing. I'm like, I just clean.
Right. Yeah. I do the same thing. And I mean, I've worked at some clinics where they're like, oh, you don't need to clean. That's not what you're here for.
I've had that too.
I'm not doing anything else. Like, I'm here to work. So I don't care what I'm doing. I'm going to do whatever needs to be done in order to, like, it doesn't matter. Like, so what would you say, what resources or communities, or is there anyone specific that has been the most helpful to you in this whole entire journey? Is there something that you can think of, or somebody that you can think of, or is it just all been you and you just have you're doing your own research?
Yeah. So the business council from the SBA, so the Small Business Administration, again, like, our tax dollars pay for this. It's a free service. I can't guarantee you'll get as amazing of a business counselor that I have, but he's been essential to me. He's taught me a lot about business in a profit and loss standpoint. So understanding my financial reports, and that's not something that I knew. I had a bookkeeper. There's a bookkeeping company when I first started, and I had QuickBooks, and, I was doing the invoicing, but I didn't really know anything else about QuickBooks. They did Zoom meetings with me and taught me accounting.
Oh.
So, and again, you can find this, like, QuickBooks themselves has videos on how to do things too. I don't learn that way. I have to, like, actually do it. So to have somebody on Zoom with me and have myself click through the things and guide me was how I was able to learn it. So that was really great. My aunts, who are in California, they have been wonderful in supporting me and, like, that constant cheerleader. I've got friends that are entrepreneurs that are a consistent line of support, even if it's like, it's not the same industry, but it's still business, right? So having them to be able to talk to. I think I mentioned, IndyVets, Dr. Andrew Heller, he was so nice to talk to me when I was starting out and, like, really give great advice for what I was trying to do. So I'm forever grateful for him, and I still keep in touch with him. How they've grown so much. I think they're nationwide now, and there's definitely a lot of resources I've had. I have a CPA as well that I think it took me the right knowledge base to be able to ask the right questions to the CPA. So now that I'm more knowledgeable in my YouTube college of finance, I can ask my CPA the right questions, because their job, I think people mistake a CPA for a tax strategist, and they're not. Right. There is a YouTube that I follow, Carlton Dennis, that's Carlton with a K, on YouTube, and he's amazing. He is a tax strategist. So
Oh,
when you're thinking about like deductions and write-offs and like how to optimize your business and your, especially if you're a sole member LLC, I think he's a really great resource in understanding tax strategies.
okay.
Hmm.
All right.
Yes.
Well, maybe I'll look that up and I'll link that in the show notes
Hmm.
for people to look up.
Yeah.
Hmm. I like him.
As
I'm sure there's plenty of other channels, but I like him.
Yeah. No,
and,
that's good.
and I just want to say, from a small one person LLC, I do have a financial planner and accountant that I pay monthly on a retainer. And it was the best decision I have ever made, just to know that I can go to him if I'm like, hey, can I work expense this? And I get a yes or a no. And they
Hmm.
do my taxes for me. They handle everything.
Yes.
It's just so much weight off my shoulders. And I pay them a monthly fee. They take care of everything for me. So I think that's super
That's great.
important, because vet
Hmm.
techs, we don't have our CPAs. We're not financially
Mm-mm.
savvy. You know,
Mm-mm.
we work with our hands. So what
That's
you're
right.
doing and having that is, I think, is so valuable.
Yes,
Hmm.
I have a financial advisor too for both the
Yeah,
business and personal,
me too.
because technicians that work for Action Vet Techs, if they've been with me for 3 years or more, they're eligible for an IRA. So
Oh,
we have
wow.
a SEP IRA set up for them, which again, that was me. The reason I wanted employees is like, I want to be able to incentivize these technicians and make this a career and give it back, whatever profits we have at the end of the year, if I can put that into an investment plan for them, that's the best I can do. Now,
That's
offering
amazing.
health benefits
Awesome.
is what I get asked to do a lot. Do we have health benefits? We don't.
Mm.
And I don't know. I think it can be possible, but the part of it that kind of goes against our mission would mean, for me to give you health benefits, mean you have to work a certain number of hours per week. And then that takes away the autonomy,
Oh, yes.
Uh,
right? So the whole point
ah,
of like being a relief tech and being with Action Vet Techs is you get to choose your schedule. You're not required a certain number of hours. But if you want health benefits, that's where we're not competing with full-time jobs, right? We're not competing in that way, because at a full-time position at a hospital, you're going to get paid time off. You're going to get health benefits. You're going to get vacation time, sick leave. So there's pros and cons to being relief. But I do try to incentivize as much as possible. I'll buy scrubs. I pay for CE license renewal, that kind of stuff, as much as possible.
Yeah, that's something that I had thought about too when I was thinking about doing my own recruiting of, like 1099 versus W-2. And then also the health insurance of like, if I'm going to be hiring these girls, should I provide health insurance? So I think that's a really interesting perspective. That makes so much sense. Yeah. Because relief is picking your own schedule. Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense.
What I considered as an alternative, which is something that I have for myself, is a HSA. What
Oh,
if
okay.
I
I,
have one of those.
what if I maxed an HSA for, qualified employees?
Right.
We have an insurance agent, so if somebody is looking to carry their health insurance independently, like I do,
Oh, you can get
I
them
just
set up with that.
I send them to my insurance agent who can talk to them about, what kind of plan they have, and she puts them on the correct tier. So you can carry your own, yeah, versus finding it yourself in the marketplace is kind of challenging.
Yeah, because I've talked to multiple insurance agents, and I've had one that I talked to got me set up. It didn't work out, and I was like, "Hey, I'm having trouble." Never spoke to me again. He
Mm,
completely ghosted me. And then I got
right.
on with another one, and she helped walk me through the whole process. She was amazing. She was like, "If you ever get pregnant, we can change this. You just let me know.
Yes.
You can message me anytime." So there is a huge difference between insurance agents. So I think it's
Yeah.
all already amazing that if you're already set up with one and you can help your
Hmm.
girls through that, that's already like a giant bonus as far
Yes.
as I'm concerned.
Yeah. It helps. At least I can give them something rather than like, no, we don't do that, and that's it.
Exactly. Exactly. As long as if you can guide them, that makes the biggest difference in the world compared to
Mhm.
other avenues. So,
Yeah.
All right. So, Jacqueline, one of the things that you said that really impressed me was the longevity of your staff. It sounds like you're keeping your technicians for a very long time. What do you think are some of the main reasons for current credentialed technician shortage, and why are they leaving the field?
Mm, loaded
Sorry.
question, Michelle.
hmm
I kind of come back to the self. And I've said this in other podcasts too. I think a lot of it is we're not taking responsibility or accountability for our own experiences in our work, right? Where it's easy to blame the atmosphere, the environment that you're working in. And sometimes that's true, right? Sometimes cultures aren't great. Sometimes the people you work with aren't great. But how can you empower yourself to either protect your energy or stay in your lane or truly choose the right work environment? I don't know if there's just so much negative talk about. I think we could take more responsibility for ourselves is what I'm saying. More self-care on our positivity and the energy that we bring to work. Like, how do you show up to work? Are you 10 minutes late with your coffee in your hand and your breakfast that you still need to eat? Then you're the problem is what I would say. So the people that are complaining that come in like that's what I mean about responsibility and accountability. Like, look at yourself first. When you're complaining about everyone else, what if you're pointing a finger, there's 3 more pointing back at you, or 4 more fingers pointing back at you. So look at yourself first before you decide that your environment is toxic or your culture is toxic. How are you showing up?
Yes.
But I think pay for licensed technicians is way lower than it should be. I think, not to get in the conversation about assistants versus technicians, but we're not getting paid for the education we're received. There's assistants that, because they've been in the game a couple years longer than we have, they get paid a lot more, or the same as us, or the responsibilities are the same. And it's variable by state. So if we had a nationwide standard, I think that would be super, versus state to state. Like, we don't care if you're a licensed tech or not. That's always disheartening to me.
Right. When they sit there and they say, hey, we're hiring a licensed tech or a vet assistant, and they're not differentiating between which one.
Not the same.
And sometimes, depending on whether you are licensed or not, if you're licensed, they're going to pay you more. But then they get a vet assistant with the same experience without the license, and they're like, actually, we're going to hire this one, but we're going to pay her $10 less because she's going to be a lot cheaper for us and for the hospital. So no, I think that that's something that that is important and needs to be discussed. And I think the standard of our veterinary staff has a huge reason to do with why people are leaving the field.
Yeah. Underutilization. I see that too. There's been a hospital I worked in before that even me as a RVT in their hospital, working in their surgery department, the doctors were inducing and intubating, and the technicians weren't allowed. So there's a lack of efficiency. And if you can't honor a technician for what he or she went to school for and what we're trained to do, that will also burn you out, because you're not getting to do your job. And it's a shame, because if there's discussions about this mid-level practitioner, that, to me, that's wild. It's like, come on, guys, we aren't even using the credentialed technician or the VTSs in the way we need to use them or can use them, the way we're licensed to function. But you want to entertain this mid-level practitioner. To me, that's a joke.
Yeah, like, what's up with that? I mean, our VTSs, man, they work so hard for that. And these mid-level practitioners are going to come in and take over some of their responsibilities. I'm like, no, VTSs, those VTSs need a lot more elevation. They deserve it, man. They earned it.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, I recently had a veterinarian reply on one of my LinkedIn posts about underutilization of licensed veterinary technicians. And her perspective was that veterinarians are so afraid of being sued that the liability of having a technician that's under them and making a mistake could actually have them lose their license, which I feel like was an interesting perspective, because it's not one that I had really thought of or heard before. I mean, I do understand that in a certain way, but I also feel like if you don't trust your technicians to do those things, then why have them around anyway? Why not just hire just veterinarians?
Yeah. I mean, we're all under the direction of a veterinarian, right? The assistants, the technicians, all of us are under the direction of a veterinarian. So to take it personally on, oh, this is my license, sure, a client can sue a hospital, they can sue a doctor, but if the right protocols and procedures are in place, it's inevitable that mistakes happen. But yeah, if you're on that level of like you're paranoid that your technician is going to do something to get you sued, that seems like a problem with your technician.
It's a
and
trust
like
issue, right?
Yeah,
it's a trust
trust.
issue. Yeah, like I guess I would challenge that doctor in that sense of like, does your tech need more training, or what is it about them they don't have that you need to feel better about this?
And moving on, so that kind of leads us into the next question. How do you feel that mobile work and relief work can help address some of these challenges that we're having with the vet tech shortage?
Staffing. There's still so many clinics that are short staffed. And back to your question about burnout, that's part of it too. Being overworked, understaffed constantly, especially the emergency clinics, the specialty hospitals, not getting lunch breaks, those things. But yeah, like the mobile piece, I'll start with that one. And Michelle, you can probably speak to this yourself. The pets and the clients, they don't need to go into the hospital all the time. And if we can kind of bridge that gap between the veterinary hospital and the pet care, like for your diabetics or your chronic kidney disease or whatever it is that pet is dealing with, that gets that veterinarian and a more accurate result, meaning their glucose or their blood pressure, or, so they don't have to get stressed going to the hospital for sub-Q fluids because the client's uncomfortable doing them themselves. I think it's just elevating patient care in general.
Yes.
I know with mobile veterinary nursing, we communicate with that veterinarian, even though it's not the veterinarian that reached out to us. Anytime that there's a pet under that doctor's care, under that direction that the clients have been given, we communicate back to them to let them know that we as technicians are taking care of this, so that we, one, get repeat business and hopefully referrals, but two, so they understand that our technicians have eyes on them. And they really value that. And there have been things that we've picked up on that advised the client to go, you need to see your vet sooner than later. Something's wrong, those kind of things. But to the staffing and training side, like who doesn't need training? Whether you've been in the field for 20 years or 50 years, you can learn something. Like medicine is changing. There's always something to be learned. And yeah, solutions in staffing, for sure. If you've had one of my techs in your hospitals, like most of the hospitals we go into, they're like, oh, you're from Action Vet Techs? Here, take, and the doctors just hand over clipboards.
Oh man,
It's
that's
the
amazing.
greatest.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I love that
love
trust.
It's like definitely like a stamp of approval when they see that they're coming from you, and the doctors just hand over everything, like
Yes.
you're from Action. Here you go.
Yes.
I love that.
And
man.
I always tell my technicians, like, they will ask to hire you, and they're
Yes.
allowed to ask that, and they're allowed to. So don't like be weirded out by it. But also, I think that's the most flattering thing you can receive,
is.
right? If they want to keep you and they're like, when are you coming back, or how can we hire you? That's the best compliment you can receive.
And then how do you see the role of veterinary technicians evolving over the next few years? What's that landscape look like for you?
I think that ideally there would be more VTS. I think that is really, really impressive. Like every VTS I've ever met is just a wealth of knowledge and resources. And I would love to see more of them in more hospitals and then be able to do what they love to do, which is teach and train. So a lot of like the training positions that I see in some of the hospitals, for some reason, they're not working out very well. And I don't really know the answer to why, but it seems like there's high turnover in those positions, like anybody that's been in like a training coordinator position. But yeah, I think more VTS for sure. Our medicine has gotten better over the years, but I would like to see still like more standards being elevated.
Same. I
Yeah.
think that exactly, just getting standards in place and elevating them. Yes.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see with the BPA what that role does and how it affects technicians in the future. Obviously, we have things that I feel like we were really moving forward when I first started in this field, which, well over 15 years ago at this point. And I felt like there was more people wanting to become licensed. And I feel like we're at like, we got to a little bit of a plateau, and now it's just kind of going down. And I've heard veterinary assistants, really awesome veterinary assistants that I personally work with, who I encourage, like, hey, have you thought about becoming licensed? And they're like, no, I don't think it's worth it. I think it's a waste of time, and I don't really think I even want to do this for the rest of my life. And it's so disheartening, and it's so sad
Yeah.
because I look at them and I'm like, but you're awesome. You are so good, and you have so much more potential. And losing you in the vet field would be so sad, and it would be so disheartening because it's getting to the point where the standards a little bit, the shortage, but sometimes I feel like we just have a lot of unpassionate people in the vet field. We were so passionate when we started, and now we're not. And I think it was so much deeper than what we've even discussed, or but it's really, really sad. And I really hope that we can get that passion back. And getting that passion back, I feel, is education and becoming licensed and always learning, like you said, right? We always have something to learn. And I feel like when we become stagnant in this field and we're not learning anymore, that's when the passion starts to dwindle, because we've reached that plateau. So that's how I feel about it.
And my personal stance on that is I also feel, and I've seen it firsthand, where a lot of people who don't have passion for this industry, they end up in it, and they become a receptionist, they become an assistant, and somehow they just fall into the job because their daddy was friends with Doc, and then they stay around for 10 years.
Yeah.
And they never get licensed, they never get fear-free certified, but they're hanging out at the clinic, and it's like, well, this is my job because daddy knew Doc, and I don't need to do any better because, I don't have to, and I'm not getting pushed. And that's another thing I've seen personally, people who just enter it just to like fill a job, and they don't have a passion, but they like animals, but it's just not, the spark's not there to begin with, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then there's not going to be any initiative, and that just leads to lower level patient care.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So hopefully one day, I personally would love to see, I know they're starting the certified veterinary assistant programs. I hope that one day becomes a national standard too. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but I would love to see that. That way we do have more passionate assistants entering the field as well.
Yes. Invested people.
And I personally work with a lot of CVAs that I've worked with on relief and with full-time jobs, and they're amazing. I mean, they are so good at what they do, and I trust them, like absolutely trust them. And there's a lot that are completely satisfied with continuing to be a certified veterinary assistant, which, I mean, rock on.
Yeah.
Veterinary assistants have, I mean, what my veterinary assistants do, I would not be able to function without them, because they're
essential. I'm never ever dismissing the need of an assistant in the hospitals at all.
Right.
Because it's absolutely essential. That's who I learned from. I was an assistant for 4 years before I went to tech school. So there's no dismissing their value in the hospital at all. But if we could all be like licensed technicians and or certified assistants, that just means we're more educated and we're more elevated in our patient care.
And holding that standard.
Yes. And that way, when somebody's like trying to tell you, why we do something, it's not just pulling out of their ass, right? Like there's an actual reason for it.
Right. Or even just saying,
We're
that's what the
educated.
doctor recommends.
No.
And it's like, no, that's not the right answer. You
That's
need
not
to know
because.
why the doctor is recommending it as well. Like, we all need to be educated, and our clients will trust us so much better, right? If we communicate
When we can speak to the how and the why. Yes, exactly.
So what innovations or trends do you think will shape the future for mobile techs and relief techs?
So what innovations? I mean, technology is great, right? So we have apps and we have like a lot of electronic exchanges that we can do, but it's disconnecting us as humans, sadly. That's the part that sucks about it. I mean, I think technicians, will have either their side hustles or their full-time hustles where they're working independently, whether that is like, mobile, like in-home work with the clients specifically, or maybe, I know there's definitely more mobile veterinarians these days. And I mean, that's a fun job. I've done relief with a mobile vet. It was just like one doctor, one tech, And the two of us, we knocked out a whole day of all kinds of adventures, and it was great and fun. So I think there could be more of that, especially since people don't want to leave their homes anymore. And they pay for it too, right? It's
Right.
expensive to have
Yeah.
a mobile vet to come to your house. So maybe there's going to be less brick and mortar. I don't know.
Yeah, I've had a few new ones come up in my area, mobile DVMs, and I just think
Mhm.
it's a wonderful thing to have. I've seen it myself. Pets are either too stressed out or they're too arthritic to go to the vet. And when that happens, who else do we call? We want to call the DVMs. We want to call the LVTs. We want to have better access to care by allowing licensed veterinary technicians and veterinarians out on the road. Is again, it's just elevating that care and that experience for not only that owner and that pet. And the way I see it is people nowadays get literally toilet paper delivered to their door.
Yes,
People want
exactly.
everything delivered to their door.
People don't
feel,
leave.
yeah,
No.
yeah, I know I don't. If I can get it delivered, and it's just one of those things where I think it's just going to become more and more the norm as it gets out that credentialed veterinary professionals are hitting the road and coming into your home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think eventually we are going to talk about, we're going to have a specific episode as well on, because there's also been that real gray area. And I know that we've seen it in the Unattached Vet Tech Facebook group of credentialed technicians that are being challenged by the board and saying, hey, you can't do things like this. But Joe Schmo off, who's not credentialed, they're doing it and they're not being reprimanded. They're not being held accountable because they're not licensed veterinary technician. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. So that's going to be
variable. You got to consider the state. So remember me saying, like, some states are like, we don't care if you're licensed, like Florida is one of them. Texas is another one. And so you got to think about how the Practice Act is written and what state they're in and what boards are going to care about what you're doing from a business perspective, because everybody's Practice Act is written differently. I know ours in North Carolina is about 40 years too old.
Oh, wow.
Most
Like
of them
a lot of them need
Yeah.
updated, right?
They
On like,
do.
this is 2025. Look at what's changed in the last 30 years in veterinary medicine. So,
Right.
if your board is challenging you, like, read the Practice Act yourself first. And then
Yes.
because in ours, there's also a lot of gray areas of like under a veterinarian supervision. We do that every day in the hospital, right? And it's not directly under their supervision. They're just in the building.
Right.
So those kind of gray areas, right? So anyway,
Mhm.
I would just, make sure you read your state
States.
specifically.
Yes, that's what I tell whenever I have technicians ask me questions about that. That's one of the first things I tell them. You need to check with your state boards. I know some of them have really, really tight rules. For example, Louisiana unfortunately has like a no solicitation clause in it, meaning a vet tech cannot do a nail trim for a client if it's not under a DVM. It's insane to think that the second most educated person in the profession is getting held back. So that's one of the things I'm trying to do with the association is the first year we want to dive into these practice acts and we want to try to get them to open up the scope so that we can do things. Because I personally have had an issue in my area where there is a lady and she has no veterinary credentials, she has no certification, she just trims nails, but she has told her clients that garlic is the best heartworm prevention. So if we're in a state like Louisiana, this gets worse. If we're in a state like Louisiana where I can't do this but allow somebody like her to foster and thrive,
Exactly.
we're hurting the pets. Because I had a client that came to me. I was seeing her for about 4 months. She went in for her routine heartworm test. And then it came up positive. And my client was like, well, the last nail lady told me to give it garlic. And I'm like, and that kind of ignited me to be like, we need to have some sort of standard. We need to have some sort of unification. We can't allow this to go on because it's going against the sacred oath of first do no harm.
Right.
When we are telling the second most educated profession, you cannot do this.
Yeah. Another good support is your state vet tech association. So we have a North Carolina Vet Tech Association, and our board members are really great. They want to hear from our RVTs here in the state on the issues that they're coming up with because they have a more direct relationship with the veterinary boards that make the edits to the Practice Act and make the edits to those rules and regulations, right? So I would advise, if you're not getting in touch with the boards directly, or maybe you need advice, reach out to your vet tech association in your state and ask them, right, on, is anybody else doing this, what I'm trying to do, or has anybody else had this struggle, or whatever it is that you're working with.
Right. And that's the really big part of Michelle's Facebook group, the Vet Tech Unattached. There's that support there. And we have a lot of girls that, if they are having trouble, we kind of come together there and we discuss those things. So I think, as long as you have some sort of support system like that, which Michelle has provided, that's your best bet, at least to start. Okay. Well, I think we're going to start kind of closing things down and going through our takeaways here. I know that we discussed, the aspect of your work, and you've mentioned about what you're most passionate about and kind of already how you keep that passion alive. Is there anything that we might have missed, or that you want to kind of talk a little bit more about as far as about your passion in the veterinary field, or do you think we covered everything there?
Not that I can necessarily think of. I'm a very passionate person in that sense of, like, there's a lot of things that I care about, and there's a lot of things I'm still passionate about in this business, and it's been 6 years, and we continue to, like, grow and change. And I love every one of my technicians and stay in touch with them on what I can do to support them. And that's, I think, what has kind of evolved with me. And, like, yes, I still have a passion for patient care and veterinary medicine and being in the industry, but my role has changed in it, right? Where I'm supporting technicians that are truly in the game, and just trying to give them the best lifestyle they can have. I don't even like to say work-life balance, because really it's about, like, balancing your life.
Right.
Like, work is part of your life. So let's just make it a life balance, right? And I look out for them, and if I see them working, like, a whole bunch of hours, I'm going to ask him about it, right? Like, do you need to work 50 hours a week? Like, can you maybe not?
Right.
Because I'm wanting them to take care. The whole point of this with Action Vet Techs is a space to earn more money, so you can take care of your mind, your body, and your emotional state, and not run yourself into the ground. Having to overwork constantly will run anyone into the ground. I don't care how mentally strong you think you are.
Right.
So I'm looking out for them, and I love doing that.
Yeah. And would you say that with you owning your own business, do you think that, because I remember how I used to be, where vet med was basically my entire life, and everything else was kind of just pushed to the side, and vet med was just the center of everything. I was miserable when it was like that. Would you say that it's still your center with everything going on in your life now and how business focused you are, or would you say that you have a better balance there now?
I think I have a really good balance because I can shut it off. Like we talked about those boundaries earlier. My team knows my business operating hours. The times that I can communicate with you are between 8 and 5 a.m. or 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. I don't have notifications on the chat on the weekends. I don't answer at night. There have been times that I have answered. Somebody's called me, right? Or they've asked to talk to me and needed to talk. I will absolutely compromise for anyone to talk to you at 7 o'clock on a Thursday night. Or, we do CE for our team, and we've done those at night too. So it's not like I'm hardcore black and white on those things, but I keep my boundaries so I have a personal life, and that my whole life doesn't revolve around me running a business or veterinary medicine. Like, I have my hobbies, I have my friends, I have family that I share with. And I think that's important to have hobbies and go breathe fresh air and get away from the blue light.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
I need to take your advice, Jacklyn.
Quit scrolling your phones.
I need to.
Go play outside.
I want to. I'm going to take that advice.
Yes. Look at Kiki. She needs a walk.
She kind of does. Yeah, she likes her walks. She does go to daycare every once in a while. But
okay.
I was actually thinking about hiring a dog walker for her a couple days a week while I'm gone at work.
There you go.
something that we do really want to do at the end of these episodes that we thought would be really cool is there anyone in your life that you would want to dedicate this episode to? Someone, in your personal life or your work life, family who has in some way inspired or influenced you that you would like to dedicate this episode to?
It's a hard one to like say one person. There's been so many people in my life, like friends, colleagues, family, even strangers that I just hit up a conversation with that have been so inspiring or supportive in that way of like believing in that I can do these things. I will choose my Aunt Jean and Aunt Janet this time, my California aunts, because they are so consistently amazing and awesome, and just everything they exude is a celebration. And I love that about them, right? Like they celebrate things and they have such a positive attitude on like, this is working for you and this will work for you. And I'm attracted to people that have that mindset, and they've always been that person to me that there's like, yeah, Jacklyn, you can do that. Of course you can. And, I also need people in my life that are going to give me like the real deal, like, well, what if shit does go down? And to be able to have that counter thought, right? Okay, what if it does? What is my plan? So you need both of those people in your life. But I absolutely love the positive energy that my Aunt Jean and Janet give every day.
Awesome.
Thank you,
awesome.
aunties. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us, and for being our very first guest. I think that this was an absolute awesome first interview episode, and we just loved having you, and we loved talking with you, and I think that we learned a lot, and I think that our listeners are gonna take a lot from this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Endless Journeys, the Vet Tech Odyssey podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and found some valuable insights. If you did, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave us a review and let us know what you think. You can also connect with us on all social media platforms at Endless Journeys, the Vet Tech Odyssey podcast. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep making a positive impact in the veterinary world. We need you guys. Have a great day.